Well, hello. It looks like we're live. Let me just see and make sure. It appears we are. Let me just see. Oh, now that's coming back through my mic. Well, good. It looks like we're live. Everything's working fine. No gremlins yet. Good to see everybody here. I am using a new microphone. The other microphone took a bit of a turn for the worse. So hopefully you can hear me all and that this mic is doing better. Just give me a heads up and let me know that it's working well. Can you hear me? Good, good. Very, very happy to hear. So better quality microphone, and just trying to make sure that that I've got all of the proper equipment and backups. Derek is in the house. So is Can't Quit 1109. Hilliard Ward. I am lean. I believe. There's I believe. So everybody find I believe's name there and go to her channel and watch. I'm going to bring that channel up just so I have it here. Also Tracy Inverness. If you see Tracy's name, Tracy there, go to her channel and you can watch her videos. Also, John, Best Damn Podcast, go to his channel and watch his videos. All of these folks have brought to the table things that that many of the questions and everything that you have. So it's important that everybody that has a call to start talking, start speaking. It doesn't matter how many people are watching your videos. It's irrelevant. The words being spoken change the consciousness. So just understand that when you begin speaking the things that you're speaking, first of all, other people can watch and relate to it because they've experienced the same things that you have, the same questions, the same awakenings, the same moments. So the more you pay attention to everybody else, I'm going to tell you this, that I'm going to say this and understand why I'm saying this. Forget about me, that it's not about me, it's about you. And everything that you feel inside, all of the questions that you have will get answered within you. We try to address them. We try to conjure the questions up. We try to bring forward some answers for you, or at least some directions for you to look. And that's what this is all about. The goal here would be for, and I see my mama is in the house. Good to see you, mama. And my mama, you can go to her channel as well. Just all you do is the three little dots. When you cursor over next to their name on the right-hand side of the chat window, click on it once, and it'll say go to channel, and go to their channel. And I just got to tell you that I absolutely love your videos. Tracy, love your videos. John, I love your stuff. John's channel has a 3-hour interview up right now that you should pay attention to. This is a 3-hour discussion that he and I had in May of this year. And John had a lot of questions to ask, a lot of really good questions. And I think that there's probably more information, particularly if you're new to this channel, there is more information that is discussed during the course of that 3-hour conversation than you're ever going to get from just watching one of the videos. John really asks every single question I think that all of you have. And it's in relationship to the existing paradigm or the existing dogma of the church and the way that they've taught, the way that you've grown up. Even if you didn't go to church, even if you weren't participating in Christianity, the entire world was pushing these things to you, these understandings. And that's the enemy's world. And so they taught you these present understandings. And that's why I'm going to go through Matthew 24 today. Matthew 24, Abraham Laws, good to see you. What's up? What's up with you? Brett Peters, Rosalind Lynch. I believe I saw earlier, and Jeffrey Doherty. Good to see Jeff popping up in the chat room. Jeffrey Doherty. And if you haven't gone and watched Jeff's videos, Jeff always has great content, great enlightenment. Many of the same questions that you've had, he's going to also help you answer. It's going to help you dig in to unindoctrinate yourself, and that's really what has to happen. Reading a great novel right now. Old Testament, says Chili Boy. Yes. So it looks like the chat room is filling up quite quickly. 700 watching right now. That's not bad. Congrats to you, all of you. This message is getting out. It's resonating. And I'm going to be covering a lot of things today. So I'm going to cover not just Matthew 24, but I'm also going to cover the Monument Valley trip and where we're at with that. Jeff Doherty, I believe that somebody sent me a message that they are sponsoring you, so you're going to be covered. John, Best Band Podcast, he's sponsored. He's going to be covered. I can also get Rex Bear down. So Rex, if Rex can still come, he's covered. We now are in the process of raising the proper capital for the rentals of the satellite, because we're going to need satellite internet where we're at. Otherwise, we won't be able to broadcast live to you. Now, if for whatever reason we cannot come up with that satellite, then what we're going to do is we will do videos. We will compile videos that day, and then we will have somebody drive and upload them that night. So for everybody. Now, Naughty Beaver will probably not be coming. So it's too much of a hardship for him. Don't be mad at him for that, but it's a hardship. So I want to make sure that, that all of you know that, we love Naughty. I would love for him to be there, but it's quite a hardship for him. And I fully understand that. So, and I think people wait for me to do a live show to send me messages. I'm just going to let you know right now that I'm not going to be calling you back. Sorry. So Lori said, if you like these vids, smash the like button, smash like. Yes, it's that thumbs up button on the bottom right of the video, right underneath the zoom that you see there. 737 watching right now, kind of like a small jet aircraft. So, yes, George Manning says, Global Witness is not surprising. He values his privacy. Hopefully everyone here will as well. Yes, please respect that about him. Everybody does. I would love to do a live show with Naughty Beaver too. But, Naughty is he's on his own. We communicate through email. And as I said, Ann Foster, Naughty Beaver will not be coming. He's expressed to me that it's a hardship for him to come. And so I don't question that hardship. Whatever it is, that's what the hardship is. And so I respect that. I also am going to try to bring Jay. And so hopefully Mr. Doherty will talk to Jay. Hopefully he'll be able to come out. I'd like Jay to be able to come as well. And also, Wayne Steiger. I'd like Wayne. If Wayne would like to be able to come, I think Wayne would be great as well. So it's going to be, so basically what the Monument Valley event is going to be. I'm talking right now with a couple different people, both in Hopi and Navajo, about guides that would be taking us into specific places, and we'll let them do the places that they are willing to take us. Aside from that, primarily there's a lot of other things to see just right there in Monument Valley, but we will still also, because Monument Valley is in Navajo territory. And as I said, we will have drones if Steve from WSO is coming. I haven't talked to Steve in the past week and a half or two because Steve's had some things going on. So I've just kind of respected his space. I will be able to bring Steve out if Steve can still come, and I'm sure that he will. If he does, we will most likely try to do a high altitude balloon without a fish lens camera. So with a regular camera, and that high altitude balloon goes to about 100,000 feet in altitude. So we're talking to the edge of the Earth's atmosphere. That will be quite interesting. For the most part, the people that have asked to attend, I'm going to just let you know right now that the important part about attending this is to understand that this will be hard camping. So this is not for the lighthearted. So there may or may not be water, so you need to bring your water. There may or may not be other food, so you need to make sure that you have food. You will definitely need a tent or a small trailer. Whatever you can bring, that's up to you. It will be cold. This is also broadcast right now or forecast to be a colder than normal and wetter than normal winter. So up where we will be, that wetter means possibly snow. So it could be beautiful and white and very cold. So definitely not for the lighthearted, but this will, we will obviously have nice bonfire and we will have great fellowship. And much of that fellowship we would like to be able to bring to everybody that cannot attend. So that is the goal. So just so you know, right now, what we're still trying to put together, as I said, still the satellite internet, which will just most likely be a portable direct link. And we would most likely, myself, Jeff, Rex, and and John and all the people, we would get together most likely here in this trailer. I've got to get a truck to make sure that I can pull this trailer, but this trailer would come up and we would potentially shoot right here inside here in the living room. We would shoot some live shows with all of us discussing things all at the same time. So I've already got that camera, but we've got to get some other equipment set up. And we've had some incredibly generous donations, and we are definitely getting there. So in raising the capital for this. So if you haven't considered donating, anything counts, $5. All of it is going directly to this event. Nothing is going in anybody's pocket. It's all for travel. There is nobody here making money from this event, just to let anybody know. Doesn't matter what I say. My detractors are always going to say that, you know, I'm trying to get wealthy, but believe me, there's much easier ways for me to get wealthy than this. And that's partly what I'm going to be discussing when we discuss Matthew 24, because it's an interesting scripture to read and also will help you understand what is going on. Partly what I'm going to be discussing. Good gosh. Out of the blue, the gremlin popped up and just refreshed my page all on its own. So interesting. Now I have things opening all by itself. So I wanted to get into Matthew 24 because I think that you're going to hear some things in here that you never heard before, even though you might have read it. So, and this is, it begins with the destruction of the temple and signs of the end times. So I'm going to start off in this Matthew 24. Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to its buildings. And he said, "Do you see all of these things?" He asked. And said, "Truly, I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." Now, many of you have heard me say when he says not one stone, they were accusing him that he was going to destroy the temple. But the reality is that he was going to destroy the understanding of why those temples were built. And as a result of destroying the understandings and the beliefs in people, that the temples would be torn down because no longer would they represent the new belief, that the temples represent the current understanding. And that once they understand all of the truth of the scriptures, that those temples will no longer represent it and they'll tear the temples down themselves, which ultimately did happen. They allowed it to happen. People say that 70 years from then that the temple was torn down and burned, and that it was taken over. But the reality was they allowed it to happen because it didn't mean as much to them anymore. So when it says, as Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. "Tell us," they said, "when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?" And he answered, "Watch out that no one deceives you." Now, this is really important. As you've heard me say in other videos, that the deceiver isn't the one that is cursed, but it's those that are deceived. Now, when people say I'm deceiving people, I want to clarify right now. Number one, I can't deceive you. I can't deceive you. First and foremost, I'm always telling you to go and look and read it yourself, find it yourself, because I don't want to give you the answer. I simply overturn that stone so you can see, and then you go find it yourself. And the reason for this is because, as I've said many times before, is that if I give you an answer, if I tell you what it is, that you will never truly accept that as your answer, because we live in a currency world and we are programmed in this way that something that somebody gives you, you feel like you need to give something in return. And so this causes a deficiency within us, within our heart, that we will only rely on it as long as that person is satisfying our needs. And so when you discover something else, if I give you the answer, you will never accept it fully as your own. Only when you discover it yourself do you fully accept the truth. When you discover it, when I say something and it conjures up that truth within you, and you put the pieces together and confirmations are laid before you in front of your face, then and only then will you truly know that that is the truth, because now you've found that truth. It wasn't me giving it to you. It was me simply opening the door and opening your eyes to an area and say, look, do you see these things? So he's speaking about the deception. Now let's continue with this. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. Now, here's the unbelievable thing that seems to fall on deaf ears of everyone in the church. Because the reason why is everything I've explained to you many times, that in everything there is this polarity. We are in a binary system. So in all of these things that you read, there are multiple variations of the truth. And it is true one way and true another way. It isn't just true a single way. And this is why the church has been so detrimental to people's understanding, is that they tell you dogmatically, no, it means X, Y, Z. And it doesn't. It means different things, and it means different things for different people. But this right here, where he says, for many will come in my name. So many will come and say that they're following Jesus, and that they will say, I'm the Messiah. Now think about this for a second. If you're standing there and he's talking to you, having this conversation, and he's saying, hey, many are going to come and they're going to say they're followers of me, and they're going to tell you that I'm the Messiah. Do you see that? Not that claim that they are the Messiah, but they will come in my name claiming that I'm the Messiah. He already was telling you then and there that the Son of Man is in all of you, and that he, being an entry point, being the time traveler, so to speak, being the entry point and introducing Christ yet again, because remember that many of the prophets were called Son of Man. So it's not the first time that the Son of Man showed up. Otherwise, the prophets wouldn't have called themselves Son of Man. This is the root of who we are. It is who we are inside of us. And the deception that is here is to make you never find the Messiah inside of you. So when he says, many will come in my name claiming to follow me, and they'll tell you that I'm the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Don't be alarmed, folks. This isn't scare. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. So that's where we're at. So listen to these words. The end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation. Now, nation rising against nation isn't necessarily country against country. Nation against nation is people against people. Okay, so we're talking racism. We're talking saying that they're less and that those people are evil and that that bloodline is evil. This is nation against nation. These are arguments about bloodlines. Kill those arguments, folks. They're nonsense. Forget about it. The bloodline has nothing to do with the spiritual side of things. Only whether your blood is more tasty to the enemy or less tasty to the enemy. Only the enemy cares about what kind of blood type you have. I guarantee that. So it says, nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Now, famines doesn't necessarily mean food. Famines may be godlessness as well, a famine of the spirit as well. So again, multiple truths. And earthquakes in various places. Those can be physical quakes, and those can be spiritual quakes. All these are the beginning of birth pangs. So all of these are just the beginnings of the birth of what is coming. So imagine that we are entering into this birth place, this time. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death. We're not there yet, folks, but we're quickly coming to it. And you will be hated by all nations because of me. All nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Now, we have that even in this community, which I will call the conspiratorium. I will call that false prophets also politicians. I will call the false prophets the people in your church. Right now, if you go to a church, you go to a mega church, you go to Joel Osteen, false prophet. You go to T.G. Jakes, false prophet. If they're not telling you these truths, they are false prophets. If your pastor is not explaining these things and not preparing his congregation because he's more concerned about filling the bucket full of money and less concerned about actually saving you and preparing you for these ends, they are those false prophets deceiving many. And many will turn away from the faith and betray and hate each other. Boy, I'll tell you, watch all these Christians that attack. Never seen. I can tell you right now, just by the tone, I can tell you who thinks that the most vulgar things I've heard, the most nasty comments I can even explain. And I'm talking vulgar, hate, death threats always come, and they go in the name of Jesus. Every time. It's not in the name of Allah. It's not in the name of Buddha. It's in the name of Jesus that they spew such hatred. So let that be the answer to, you will know them by their fruit. And as Malia and I were talking earlier today, the fruit, you can see the tree. You don't truly know what the root is of that tree until it bears fruit. It could look like an apple tree. If it has oranges on it, as Malia was saying, it's an orange tree. It might have the leaves of an apple tree. It might appear to be different, but if it gives oranges, it's oranges. If it gives rotten fruit, it's a rotten tree. Its root is rotten. Then you will be handed over and persecuted and put to death. You'll be hated by nation after nation. False prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. They might speak love, but they don't have it. And there's a big difference, and you know that by the fruit. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when it says that this gospel will be preached to the whole world, everybody keeps thinking, oh, well, the gospel of Jesus has been preached the whole world over. This gospel will be urgently preached when these things begin coming and people wake up. By and large, the consciousness will increase and people will be having these conversations in front of their television set with it turned off and at the dinner table and on the streets and anywhere. You're going to find people walking up to you on the street begging you to hear them. So when you see standing in the holy place, the abomination that causes desolation, spoken through the prophet Daniel. Let the reader understand. Again, remember I've said this before. When he says, let the reader understand, imagine how alarming that would be, or how weird that would be to be standing in the presence of Christ, having the conversation with Jesus right there. And he says, let the reader understand. That would alarm you right away, going, what do you mean the reader? I'm sitting right in front of you. But he knew that he was speaking to us right now. Not then. He wasn't talking to them then. He wasn't speaking to them about the fall of the Roman Empire then, as Jeff has said many times. And I love that he said this on the show, on Vinny's show the other day, that he realized that Did Rome really even fall? Or did it just change the mechanism by which it was ruling the world through the church, which is exactly what happened? So then those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Get out. Let the one on the housetop go down and take nothing out of the house. Meaning, when that desolation happens, you're going to know it. Now, let me clarify this. The abomination that causes desolation, when you see him standing in the holy place. Now, people keep thinking that that's going to be some physical temple here on earth. It isn't. The holy place, you're going to see it coming. The holy place is something that's really untouchable. Look up, you'll see it. Let the one in the field go. Let no one in the field go back and get their cloak. So don't even grab your jacket. That's how urgent this is. When this happens, when you see this in the sky, you better get out. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. I can't even imagine. Pray that your flight will not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. So trust me, that isn't some dude standing on a temple. That isn't Trump in the office. That isn't Obama at the United Nations. We've seen that kind of misery before. That doesn't equal what this speaks of when it says, for then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. This is serious stuff. And saying, flee, don't even grab your jacket. Don't go into your house. When you see that, get to the mountains and get there fast. Don't even worry about what's left behind. Get yourself there. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. For the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. Now, this is the important part where we get into the clarification on this, on Matthew 24:24. At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here's the Messiah, or there he is, do not believe it. Now, keep in mind, for everybody that thinks that Jesus, that man, is going to appear, he tells you point blank, if they tell you I'm here, don't believe them. Now, the typical Christian would tell you, oh, when he appears, there will be no mistaking because the whole world will see at the same time. You're right. He gives that description as well. But he also clarifies. And let me show you what I mean. Look, here's the Messiah, or there he is. Do not believe it. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear, performing great signs and wonders to deceive. This is the falsity of the governments and the people saying, we've got this. Don't worry about that thing up there. We've got this. We're handling this. Now, get this. Here's something that people don't hear. Will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive. And if possible, even the elect. So people were saying, oh, the elect will be deceived. No. Let's read that again. They will perform great signs and wonders to deceive. And if possible, if it were possible, it isn't even the elect. If it were possible, because it isn't possible, the elect will not be deceived, period. But they think they can deceive the elect. I can promise you, they won't. They won't challenge a single elect, because once they know who they are, you're never going to get them to doubt it. It doesn't matter what shows up. The tenacity of the heart of the elect is unlike anything that has ever been heard of before. It is a strength and it is a knowing that is far greater than anything that you've ever known in your life. So if anyone tells you there he is out in the wilderness, do not go out, or here he is, he's in the inner rooms, do not believe it. He's telling you, don't believe it, because it will not be in a single man. It will not be. So anybody claiming that they're Jesus, it isn't them. Anybody claiming that they own it, that's what I've spoken of. Taking my name in vain means taking my name for yourself. For you, you selfish little beast. No, this is how you know the fruits. When anybody's telling you that they're it, they might have been awakened to these truths, but immediately the enemy corrupts through the ego of that person. Anyone that has been awakened to these truths and touched by the Father will truly know when they have died to themselves and they've killed their ego, they will be trying desperately to get you to recognize the Messiah in you. They don't want it for themselves. I can tell you right now, here's one of the questions that I have. When somebody claims to me, and I've got lots of Jesuses in my email, there's this masked Jesus, there's the two witnesses, there's John the Baptist, there's everybody claiming to be somebody. These are bigger spirits than a single man. Christ is bigger than a single man. As he explains, like lightning striking in the east and flashing in the west, everywhere, big. That's the consciousness. Everything is speaking about the consciousness of the people and being awakened. And the elect are the ones that have their consciousness awakened before it happens. They're well aware. You're not going to convince them any different, because every single step that takes place from this point on will simply be a confirmation to what you already know inside. You're not going to challenge your perception of these things because you're already aware. So when they happen, they just become confirmations, and you know exactly what's going to happen. All of these people that believe that they're Christians, they have some preconceived notion as to that Jesus is going to come on a cloud. So, for as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will be. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Now, is this about a man standing in the temple in Jerusalem? No, it isn't. The abomination of desolation in the holy place, it isn't a dude in the temple. I promise you. Because a dude in the temple isn't going to darken the sun. And the two witnesses, for anybody that doesn't know, that can bring down fire and famine, those are planetary bodies, folks. Those aren't people. People become also part of the witnesses of the lies and the truth. As I've said, many different truths to a single scripture. Anybody telling you any different, follow their fruits and you'll understand that they are just deceivers. Now, like I said, I don't fault the person talking because they're believing what they're believing. You only fault, just like this says. He doesn't say that cursed is the deceiver. It's cursed those that are deceived. Because you are a sovereign individual in the Father. Your decisions, what you do, are yours between you and the Father. So for anybody to speak any different is diminishing who you are in the first place. They're telling you that you're just a robot because they're a robot. They're simply putting these things onto you. They are projecting their limitations onto you. When somebody says to you, well, you can't do that. No, 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 no. You tell them, don't project your limits onto me. Because you think you couldn't do that. Don't ever think that I can't do that. Because I will defy what you think every time. That's what you tell them. Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in where? In heaven. Interesting. And then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven. This is where they've misunderstood or because everybody wants to take the scriptures egotistically. They've been taught that it's this guy. And so as a result, if there is a false deception put before you, a fake Jesus, well, he's going to look just like they've painted pictures. It isn't that easy. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, the four corners of the earth, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twig gets tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the very door. Near. That's where we're at now. You see these signs. It's near. Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. Consciousness. When I tell you to speak these words, change the frequency. Speak. Speak love. Don't speak hate. Anybody wants to argue with you in hate, do not jump into that fire. Do not allow them to drag you. These are just draconians. They're just energy vampires. Leave them. Shake off the dust from your boots and move on. Now, but about that day or hour, no one knows. Not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Nobody knows. Anybody giving you a date or a time, ignore it. As it were in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Now, what was happening in the days of Noah? It says, for in the days before the flood, people were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage up to the day that Noah entered the ark. So Noah was a fearmonger, right? Noah was spreading fear porn. Noah was clickbait. Noah was all those things. No, but it also says people were drinking, having fun, acting like nothing was going on, that nothing would happen. They don't see the signs. My young daughter, 10 years old, that came to visit me, remarkable. She gets here one night. She's standing outside here. She looks up at the moon and she goes, Dad, what's wrong with the moon? It seems tilted wrong. My 10-year-old can see it. But yet you have most of the planet walking around like there is nothing abnormal about the moon, like there's nothing abnormal about the skies. Like everything is just, that's what this means. So don't let that alarm you. Let it confirm for you, because it says that this would happen. So this is where we're at. John P. says, Lee, anywhere above 500 feet above sea level. Got news for you. It's for higher than 500 feet. 5,000 or above. Now, let me continue here for a second. 2 men will be in a field, one will be taken and the other left. Now, let me just help you understand what this is. That is how will be the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field, one will be taken and another left. These are signs of the coming of the Son of Man. One in the field, as I've said, this is the rapture that they have manufactured. The rapture is a manufactured Christian dogma teaching. It isn't scriptural at all. That it doesn't understand the one that is taken, dead, but also one that is taken spiritually. So many of you have already experienced this. Many of you. You've been taken. Many of you in this chat room have already been taken. Angela says the church has made Jesus an unreachable bar. Yes, impossible. So I'll continue with this. Now, people ask me when. Again, I'm not giving you any times. I'm just telling you to be prepared. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this. If the owner of the house had known at what time the night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have left his house to be broken into. So don't leave your house. Get your house in order. Stay home. Stay here. Don't let him come. Be aware. Be aware of what you're watching. Be aware of those bearing bad fruit, rotten fruit. Who then is the faithful and wise servant who the master has put in charge of the servants in his household to give them their food at the proper time? This would be people like Tracy, people like I Believe, people like John, people like Jeff Doherty. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom the master has put in charge of servants in his household to give them food, teachings, wisdom at the proper times? It will be good for the servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. Truly, I tell you, he will put him in charge of all his possessions. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, my master is staying away a long time. When I mentioned to you, you're getting lazy. And he then begins to beat his fellow servant and to eat and drink with drunkards. So ignoring all the truths that you know, ignoring the understanding of the conscious state that you've been granted. Don't turn away from it. The master of the servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, at an hour that he is not aware of, and he will cut him to pieces and assign him to a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So in other words, with the hypocrites, which is everybody else out there that has completely ignored these things, that pretend like that they're Christians, that said, Lord, Lord, didn't we cast out demons in your names? And he says, I never knew you. So these are all these spiritual understandings. So it's really important. It's really important for you just to be prepared. More important than anything spiritually. It's not going to matter how much water you saved up. Believe me, you're not taking it with you. When it comes time to flee, you're going to flee. And it'll be the bottle of water you got in your hand. It says, don't even go into the house and grab it. The Denver Capitol building sits at 5,280 feet. Yes. Best Damn Podcast says Laodicea. Yes, Laodicea is the church that we have right now. The church that will be spit out of the mouth. We had 15K earthquakes so far this year. Yeah, it's probably more than that, actually. I think it's actually quite a bit more than that. Maurice Moore, who is Jesus praying to if he was the image of God? Yes, so if he was God, who's he praying to? Exactly. Imran Hussein says guilty, repenting. We're all guilty, and repentance is, as we said, now anybody that doesn't understand, the enemy comes in different forms, but the enemy is also a refiner. Just like in the story of Job, Satan, have you seen